guys, so here's the note for 6.2 day 1. We're going to be adding and subtracting radicals. Now before that, let's do some review with simplifying radicals. So the first one is we have the square root of 375. Now anytime we are trying to simplify, the thing is we're going to be really dealing with square roots and cube roots. We need to make sure we know our perfect squares as well as perfect cubes. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add this little page and write down what our perfect squares are. Okay, and so we're going to go in order. So if you need to write this down, make sure you do so. So we start from 1, and then we go to 4, and then 9. Now you might be wondering, well, I don't want to memorize this. How can I get these values? Remember, you take a number and you square it. So like 1 squared gives us 1. 2 squared gives us 4. 3 squared gives us 9. And so on. So 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. 6 squared 36, 7 squared is 49, 8 squared is 64, 9 squared is 81, 10 squared is 100, 11 squared is 121, 12 squared is 144. We're going to kind of continue up, so let's go ahead and do 13 squared. That's going to be 169, 14 squared is going to be 196. And then let's go ahead and we'll just do 15 squared. That's going to be 225. I think we're good till there. Okay? So when we are simplifying with square roots, here we have 375. So first, let's determine, is 375 a perfect square? Okay? Well, we have up to 225, so let's try 16 squared, what we get. We get 256 for that. Continue. 16 squared. Let's see 17 squared. That's 289. 18 squared, okay, 19 squared, okay, now let's try 20 squared. No, that doesn't work. 375 is not a perfect square. Now, you can also use your calculator to determine by doing second and then x squared and then just plugging 375. Notice we get a decimal. That means 375 is not a perfect square. If it was, we would have gotten a whole number. Okay, so now what we need to do is decide what is the largest perfect square that goes into 375. So we're going to kind of go down our list. Whoops, we're going to go down our list to see what works, okay? So basically we can figure out like 361. Can 361 go to 375 evenly? No, so we know that doesn't work. Okay, what about 324? Probably not. What about 289? Probably not. Now you might be wondering, how do I know if it goes into it evenly? Well, let's try 256. So what you have to do is do 375 and divide it by 256. We get a decimal, so that doesn't work there, okay? So basically you want to kind of take 375, divide it by these perfect squares, and see which one goes into it perfectly. Okay, then you would try 225, then 196, 169, 144, 121, 100, and so on. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and let you know that 25 is the perfect square that goes into 375. So if we used our calculator, we can do 375 divided by 25, and we get a nice number of 15. So 25 is the largest perfect square that goes into 375. So now I do need to keep my square roots because I've not simplified any through. So if you leave it as just 25 times 15, you're not going to get the right answer. So we have square root of 25 times square root of 15. Excuse me. So 25 is the perfect square. So I take the square root of it. It's 5. Now 15, is that a perfect square? No. Is there a perfect square other than one that goes into it? No. So because it's not a perfect square, it stays inside the radical. And this would be my final answer. Okay? Okay, we're going to do the same thing with cube roots of 464. So here, let's talk about our perfect cubes, because we haven't really talked about these too much. So once again, you might be wondering, well, if I don't want to memorize the list, what do I do? Well, in your calculator, all you do is take a number and cube it. So meaning that, or take it to the third power. So what that means is I do 1 cubed. That gives me 1. 2 cubed gives me 8. 3 cubed gives me 27. 4 cubed gives me 64. 5 cubed, 125. 6 cubed, 216. Probably that'll be the largest. Now what I mean by cubing it is, so let me plug it into here, 2 and then to the power of 3. That's what 2 cubed represents, so we get 8. Or you do 3 to the power of 3. We get 27, okay? So now, just the same thing as we did before, we need to see is 464 a perfect cube? So I'm going to go ahead and just plug that into my calculator to see if it is. Now, how to do that is I'm going to do 3. I'm going to go to the math button and go to number 5. So now I'm going to do 464 and then press enter. So notice that I do get a decimal, so 464 is not a perfect cube. So now my next step is to go down the list to see what is a perfect cube that goes into 464 evenly. So like I can do 464, I'm going to try 216 and see if that works. No, okay, 464 divided by, so we said 5 cubed was 125. Okay, that doesn't work. Let's do 464 divided by 64, which is 4 cubed. Ooh, that doesn't work either. 464 divided by 27. Nope. 464 divided by 8. Ah, yes. So 8 is the perfect cube that goes into 464. So here, we're going to have the cube root of 8. And I think that said cube root of 58. Okay. Now, here, make sure with that cube root, you keep that 3. If you do the square, you just, first, you might get confused, but also, cube root and square root are not the same thing. Okay, cube root of 8, that's going to give us 2, so we should already know that. If you still need help, you can use your calculator. So remember, I've shown you how to do this. You can go to math, go to number 4, do 8. Cube root of 8 is 2, okay? You can also use your exponent cheat sheet if you need to use that as well, okay? So like here we see cube root of 8, this gives us 2. So you can use your exponent cheat sheet if you need to use it, okay? Okay, so that now means cube root of 8 is 2. There's no perfect cube that goes into 58, so we keep it as cube root of 58. This is going to be my final answer, okay? Okay, make sure you watch the next video. That's where we're going to get into adding and subtracting our radicals.